Hello, I am John Blyhut, and today I will be writing our third short story based on our novel, The Trials of Jack Kemper, Liberty Island, Episode 1. Today's story is going to be about Reaper Squad, and it's going to give a little character to Iceland. Iceland is one of the few remaining states left on the earth at this time. So let's get started with talking about Iceland. And this comes from the initial part of the story where the Reapers were introduced into the novel. There was a funny scene where Junior was holding some gas, and they touched on what was causing it. And this kind of tells that story. So, let's see here. Alright, so I think that sets a good stage for Iceland. So now let's talk about Liberty Island. Alright, so Liberty Island's mission in the world is to save civilization. It's just a minor, small thing. So they regularly stop at Iceland and the UN island and a couple other places and help them. There's only a couple places that, Liberty Island personnel can enjoy, because the world is just such a bad place at this time. So they like going to Iceland. They get some free time. They can visit with people they don't always have to see. And so yeah, let's just set the stage for Liberty Island people being there. So the LIS Elon is Liberty Island's flagship. It's an airship. It's not like a blimp. It's a little more advanced than that. And yeah, we already, in the book, we touched on where they dock at when they go there. Not typing well today. We're just going to show that Reaper Squad has some free time on their hands. So, Reaper Squad is a squad of mechanized Marines. Not mechanized in the manner of today's army. They actually fly mechs, kind of like, I don't know, Avatar, or Robotech, you know, or what was it in The Matrix? They had the big mechs. But these mechs actually, they fly, they're air and ground assault, they're quite advanced. So Reaper Squad is kind of an interdiction unit. They go out and rescue people when they're threatened. They're the ones that rescued Jack Kemper and his group of friends that survived and made it to Liberty Island. Oh, I can't give away the ending of the book, but anyway, yeah. So these guys, these are kind of like the rescue group, the interdiction group. They go out and enforce liberty. Yeah. Because that's what liberty's all about. So they're going to be at a bar, because that's where I usually find myself. And I did some research to try and pick a decent name for a bar and where the bar would be. So Aegir is a Nordic god, and he's, I believe, their patron god of brewing, so it seems to fit. I always have a hard time typing that. So, not many places in the world have, actually, the UN, the Texas Republic, and Liberty Island are just a few of the places that have standing armies, and Liberty Island is by far the most advanced, while the rest of the world collapsed and technology stalled and innovation stalled. Liberty Island, being founded by technocrats, not only did their technological advancements continue, but due to some other things, they're actually way ahead in technology, and they need to be, as will be seen through the following novels that we're writing. So, Reaper Squad is kind of like the astronauts in the 1960s. They're well-known individuals. When people see them, they treat them like celebrities. Buy them drinks, buy them food, have sex with them, all the fun stuff you get from being a celebrity. So we're gonna touch on that here. Good Nordic name. And I'm not going to go into describing who's in the squad and all that. If you want to know that, read the book. It's a small squad. And only one is missing from the story. And that's because this occurs within the time frame of the novel, and she's actually in the field. So, let's see here. Squirt. Alright, so I don't actually want to type squirt. It's not even a word. I spelled that wrong too. Fisher warning. Funny. wish this thing would stay centered when I typed. It would make things much easier. Alright, everyone. Dried fish. She's a lesbian. So. I think that does it. Alright, so Iceland was one of the last surviving old Earth states. It had somehow managed to protect its borders from the inundation of immigrant floods that managed to swamp England and Ireland. The country was more than capable of dealing with the trickle of survivors that made it there. It wasn't easy, but it was manageable, and they weren't shy about turning away those they had no hope of supporting. They had a number for the total population. It wasn't a large number. The abundance of natural geothermal energy available on the island had allowed their most important industries to continue. Their hospitals had power, their homes had power, and more importantly, their pubs had power. The Icelandic fishing fleet was more than capable of dealing with the pirates that roamed the high seas. Food wasn't plentiful, but there was enough to maintain the strictly controlled population. Mutton, lamb, and fish were still the staples of Icelandic cuisine. It was all a lesson in size, a delicate balance between being small enough to sustain themselves on limited resources and large enough to maintain control of those resources. Iceland walked this line perfectly with the help of Liberty Island. The LIS Elan, that stands for the Liberty Island ship, Elan docked at Keflavik, however you say that, Air Base, and Captain Dent saw fit to give everyone a 48-hour pass. Iceland was one of the few places his crew could interact with the local population and let their guard down. Liberty Island personnel were highly regarded among the people of Iceland. This was largely due to the medical supplies they regularly delivered. Iceland had the basics covered, food, power, and housing, but all the power in the world doesn't prevent plagues from coming ashore, and Iceland's tenuous grasp on normalcy depended heavily on proper medical care. Delivering supplies and providing medical care was a humanitarian mission. And in being such, that didn't require much of the military wing of the operation, so for 48 hours the fighting women and men of the LIS Elon were free to blow off steam and enjoy the local color of Iceland. Reaper Squad had found their way to Ager's Landing, their favorite watering hole. The place had a rustic age to it that made the squad feel at home. It sat right along the water in the old harbor of Reykjavik and was extremely popular with the fishing fleet. The lively atmosphere always made for a good time. The pub was run by a man named Aaron Olafsson. He was a big fan of Reaper Squad. They were good for business. In fact, Junior's popularity here was something that couldn't be explained. Reaper Squad was the closest thing to celebrity that the pub patrons... Try to say that 50 times quick. Okay, so Reaper Squad was the closest thing to celebrity that the pub's patrons had, and for some reason Junior was the A-list. Bean always assumed it was the fine Icelandic sense of irony. The squad members were treated to a round after round, normally paid for by one adoring group of fans or another. It wasn't long before all of them were feeling the effects of the strong ales and liquors being served to them. Bean, Junior drawled. Bean, Junior. Brain. Brain. That's how I picture it. Brain. Alright. Junior drawled in his strong southern accent. Do you remember the last time we were here? You hooked up with that fisherman or is it fisherwoman? Hell, either way. I should do the voices. You wandered off with her and showed up late for muster the next day. Yeah, oh shit, Steele laughed. You smelled like rotten mackerel for days after that. He lifted a tankard of ale to his mouth and took a drink. I guess it all smells the same after a while, Junior added. Bean sat there enjoying her drink, listening to the drunken insults leveled at her by her squad mates. She knew it was all in good fun. Anyone see where Oddball ran off to? She slurred. Doc nodded in the direction of a darkened corner of the bar. Last I saw him, he was heading over there with a rather firmly built lady. Bean looked over to see Oddball nestling in the booth with a rather burly woman, not entirely unattractive, but a bit manly. The long, hard Icelandic winters hadn't been very kind to her. I guess when you have a type, you have a type, Bean opined. What do you mean? Junior asked. I think that's the same woman you were with last time. Bean swung her tankard at Junior, narrowly missing his head. The momentum of the swing carried her off her chair and onto the floor. Through it all, she maintained her grip on her drink, barely spilling a drop. She looked up at her friends, smiled, and downed the rest of her drink. Everyone at the table roared with laughter as she sprung up off the floor and sat back on her chair. Doc raised his glass. To Bean, always graceful. Even if she does miss quite often, the rest of the squad clanged their tankards against his and downed their drinks. Bean was left a bit unsatisfied when she realized she had already finished hers. Hey, barkeep, Aaron, she yelled across the room. Another round, and if you have anything to eat, bring that too. Aaron looked across the room and shouted back to her, On the way! A few minutes later, Aaron arrived at the table carrying 4 fresh tankards of ale. He was followed closely by a very attractive woman carrying a large tray of food. She set the tray down in the middle of the table, smiled, and turned and left. Aaron finished distributing the drinks and said, I've brought something very special for Reaper Squad. In a thick Icelandic accent. Great, I could eat the north end of a southbound rhino, Junior exclaimed. God, no, I don't want to see that again, Steele chided. Aaron gestured to the different plates on the tray. Here we have some dried fish, a bit of blood pudding, and something that I've been saving for a special occasion. And what is a better special occasion than a visit from our good friends? Doc turned his nose up immediately. So what is it, he asked. Runspunger. Rootspunger. I can't say it any better than Junior. Aaron said with a smile. Rootspungar? Junior asked. Rootspunger, Aaron repeated. Steele wrinkled his nose and squinted at it. What's it made out of? Looks like soylent loaf gone bad. No. It's an old Icelandic delicacy, one of the traditional dishes served during the winter festivals, Aaron said. It's pickled ram's testicles. He cut a slice of the loaf and looked around the table for someone willing to give it a try. Well, I know Bean won't be eating any of them, Junior said. The bloody pudding is more to her liking. Steele said, I think I'll pass. Doc moved on without considering it. He didn't say a thing. He simply picked up a saucer and filled it with a few pieces of dried fish and a serving of blood pudding. What? No one is man enough to eat the root spoon, Gar? Junior asked. He looked over at Bean. Certainly you are. She shook her head. Nah, you have at it. I'm not really into the way nuts taste. More for me, I guess, he said, grabbing the entire plate of it and placing it in front of him. Go ahead and toss that slice back on her. On here, Aaron. Aaron warned Junior. It's very rich, Junior. Very rich. A slice is all I would recommend. Bean slurred. I've got 20 credits says he can't eat the whole plate without getting sick on himself. Steele replied, I'll take that bet. Oddball interjected with his heavy Scottish accent. That's nothing compared to that rhino. So, yeah. Short story number 3 complete. So, yep, our book is still available on Amazon for the Kindle. It's free with Kindle Unlimited. It's free to borrow if you have a Kindle and Prime membership. And it is $4.99 to read. The first chapter is free. You click on the book cover on Amazon. You can read it for free. And if you like it, pick it up. Leave us a review. Tell us how bad it is. Tell us how wonderful it is. And come back next week and we will be writing another short story. Thank you for joining me.